What is happening, Steam? So I'm sitting here in the chair that I was sitting on about 9 months ago when I made my last major purchase in cryptocurrency, and that was when I bought EOS at around 60 cents. As I was saying in that video, I wasn't too sure when to get in on EOS because of the 1 year token distribution. But at that point the price was around 60 cent, around that, and I decided that that was the time to go in. And as always, I like to go in quite big, which is what I did. And so here I am 9 months later, and the EOS blockchain is about to launch. And to be honest, pretty much shortly after I first bought EOS, I decided that I would sell around about half of what I bought before launch and go live. And I've kind of swayed back and forth as I've got more enthusiastic about the project, and I was almost tempted to leave more in EOS, but I decided to stay disciplined and made a massive return, so it just made sense to lock in that project, those profits, mainly because no matter how you feel about a project, you have to look at things from a risk management point of view. I'm not expecting anything to go wrong with the EOS launch, but there are a number of things which, for me, point towards just being cautious. One, ironically enough, is exuberance. You know, there are people that are wildly passionate about EOS, which is fine, and wildly exuberant, which is fine. But I've been to a couple of EOS meetups, and it does seem a bit decadent, I have to say. For example, here I am. I've got an EOS t-shirt. I don't have one. I have about literally a couple of dozen t-shirts, and about a dozen hats, because at today's meetup there was literally a massive oversupply of t-shirts and hats, and on top of that, you know, they had a free bar, so there was like free booze and alcohol flowing. At the one meetup I went to before, there's free booze, so free alcohol flowing. And I've got nothing against people having a good time, getting drunk. I mean, I don't drink myself, but you know, it just seems like really decadent. It's like, let's launch the blockchain, let's produce something, and then have a massive celebration. So it kind of reminds me a bit of the exuberance that was around the DAO when that launched. I'm not saying that this is going to be anything like the DAO, but you know, that just makes me think, okay, everyone's being a little bit too extravagant here. Let me be a little bit cautious. So you know, that kind of firmed me up in my belief that I should sell and take profits now. And also because they're just inherent risks with any blockchain launch. I think there's a disconnect between where EOS is going to be in, say, a week or 2 weeks time, or even a month or 2 months time, and where EOS is going to be in 12 months and 18 months time. You know, for me, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where EOS is in 12 months after it's launched. 18 months after it's launched. That's when you're going to see the dApps come into play. That's when you're going to see it ironed out, all its kinks. I mean, one of the controversies that was kind of brewing at the meetup today was around the Constitution, with some people saying that, there are last minute changes to the Constitution. Why is this happening now? Blah, 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 blah. I think the changes were to do around, block producers, candidates having no more than 10%, or having to declare if they got more than 10% of EOS or whatever, I don't know. And some other, the inclusion of the hashes in every transaction, blah, blah, blah. Now, for me, I don't get overly exercised about these things. Because I think it's all going to come out in a wash, and that's kind of like a 12-month, 18-month process. My own personal views on the whole Constitution stuff is, I get Dan's ideology and where he's coming from. However, I think just from a pure software point of view, there's just no point in having a constitution baked into the software, because ultimately, if someone builds an app or a dApp or whatever you want to call it, or they do a smart contract on the EOS blockchain, if they want to work around any so-called constitution, they can. There's questions around jurisdiction or the validity of a constitution on the blockchain. I don't really want to get into the whole kind of constitutional law conversation, but the idea that anything other than a sovereign state can come up with a constitution is novel. A constitution that is binding without people being able to work around it is definitely novel. Let's see where that goes. That's all I've got to say on that one. So I'm not too worried about it. It'll come out in a wash, and I think that's not really the bread and butter of what EOS is about. What EOS is really about is having a blockchain that can scale, that can produce applications that people can use, that's developer friendly, that has a economic model that works out for all the stakeholders. I think that's really the nuts and bolts, and we'll see how it comes. We'll see how it falls in the wash. And the stuff about block producers, you know what? It is what it is. I was talking to someone about block producers before, and I was saying that I think what's going to happen with EOS block producers is going to mirror what's going to happen with witnesses on Steam, in the sense that initially you're just going to have people that are kind of financially invested, potentially being the main block producers. But I think the way that this delegated proof of stake works is that those people who provide the most value and want to be block producers will end up being the top block producers. So the idea that you're just going to be a block producer just because you have a data center somewhere, and that's all you do is just basically cream money off of EOS, I don't think it's going to work. I think that ultimately those block producer candidates who provide value to the blockchain, whether it's with an app that has wild scale adoption, whether it's through supporting the infrastructure in some sort of way, I think those are the people who will be voted on, because ultimately that's in the best interest of large EOS stakeholders. So yeah, any kind of controversy around what people are holding and whatnot, miss me with that. I like to keep my investment interests simple. But yeah, I just feel like there's lots of risk. There's risks with the potential launch. There's the fact that your coins are likely to be frozen for a considerable amount of time. Um, who knows, or a few days or whatever. Um, you know, there's the fact that anything can happen with your own personal security around your keys. So it just makes sense to to take the hedge, and for me to take out half of my EOS and put it in Bitcoin for now. Yeah, it makes sense to do that. That's something else I was going to say, but I've forgotten, a bit late now. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. I'm looking forward to the EOS launch. Like it's not just down, but I just want to try and keep your feet on the ground. It's squeaky bum time, as they say, in terms of like where this can go. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to say was that I personally am not planning to move my EOS until I find a wallet that I'm comfortable with, in terms of its security, in terms of being able to lock down tokens. Until I'm kind of really comfortable with that, I'm not gonna put my private keys into an application. I'm not. I'm not willing to be the guinea pig. Sorry, guys. So yeah, that's another thing that might mean that any money that I've got in EOS might stay offline for a good period of time, which is another reason for reducing my holdings. So yeah, that's it really. Just pumping the brakes a bit and sticking to the plan. It was hard to stick to the plan, trust me, because I'm 50-50. Part of me thinks EOS can go real high, another part of me thinks eek, there's risks, and I've just had to be a little bit more conservative. Normally I'm a bit more cavalier, but you get to a point where you just have to be a bit sensible. So that's how I am with EOS. Oh yeah, to remind me, never really get into a conversation with angry drunks, because I don't mind people if they're a little bit merry when they get drunk, but people that try and get a little bit aggressive when they're drunk, and I'm not drunk and I don't get drunk, this makes me laugh, yeah, and you're not going to get any sense out of them, and then invariably they're going to pull back because they realise that they're drunk, they're small, and it's not a good idea. So, but yeah, don't get into. Remind me not to get into any deep conversations with an angry drunk person. That's the lesson for the day. And EOS, please, 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 enough of the free merch. It's nice and all that, but I don't need 15 just because the guy that has them doesn't want or cannot carry a truckload of t-shirts back. So I hope decadence calms down. The money that's been raised, I think it's 4 billion. Fantastic. And this is another thing that I was saying, is like that 4 billion, let's assume that Block One are going to do the right thing and invest it in the EOS ecosystem. That then potentially is a baseline for, in my mind, for how the lowest that EOS can be. And that was one of the bases on which I invested in EOS at 50 or 60 cent, because that was valuing EOS at the time of launch at around $600 million, when at that point they'd already raised $1 billion. So the values of the token was less than the money that they had in their coffers. So you got to think that if Block One has 4 million, let's say 2 million to play with, let's say 2 billion to play with, let's say they they spunk 2 billion on a whole bunch of parties and booze and hookers or whatever. Let's say you got 2 billion to play with. You got to think that that's enough to build a really robust ecosystem for EOS. My thing is that it's not going to happen overnight, and there might be an expectation that it's going to happen overnight. But I think eventually, in 12 and 18 months' time, EOS will definitely be a major player in the space. So yeah, don't sleep on it. That's what that would be my main thing is don't sleep on it, but then don't expect too much too soon. All right, I'm gone.